If you are a person that has gone on diets and part of that diet has been you calorie counting, and now you're in a place where every time you see a food, you can't stop thinking about the calorie count, even though this is something that you want to move away from, to shift and change your relationship with food and to become more of an intuitive eater. If that's you, you definitely want to take a listen to this video. And I know what you're thinking already, that this is impossible, that you've practiced calorie counting so many times that there's no way you can shift it. But I promise you there are ways. You definitely want to take a listen to this. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Catherine. I'm a registered dietitian and certified intuitive eating practitioner, helping you to create a different kind of relationship with food and your body so you can experience more freedom in your life. If you're new here, definitely subscribe to my channel, like this video, comment below, and let's dive in. If you're watching this video, you already know what calorie counting is. After all, how could you not know, considering the culture that we exist in? And you most likely have either participated in diets where they've encouraged you to count calories, or you've been told by other people in your life that you need to follow a specific amount of calories. And this has led to you counting calories, right? Looking into foods and figuring out the exact calorie amount. It's really common that this can then turn into a constant counting of calories in your head, and food almost becomes numbers. And when you're wanting to shift your relationship with food and you're wanting to stop counting calories, because this is an important part of shifting and changing our relationship with food, you often wonder, or you may have wondered, how do I stop counting calories? How do I stop doing something that is so practiced and so ingrained? And that is a good question. So there are 3 ways that you can start today in working towards stopping to count calories. The first one is that I would encourage you to stop looking at nutrition labels. I know that this conversation is nuanced, but for the purposes of moving away from counting calories, often when we look at the nutrition label, we see the amount of calories that are on there. That's the biggest part of the nutrition label. And so this is only reinforcing this belief that you can only have a certain amount of calories, or that you need to follow the serving size that's recommended on the nutrition label that coincides with the amount of calories that you're supposed to have. And by continuing to look at the nutrition label, you often have this running calculation of how many calories you've had in a day. So the first step is to really practice not looking at nutrition labels. Some ideas around this is that when you get a food, you might very quickly, without looking at it, put a sticker over the nutrition label so that you can't see the calorie amount. Other ways is just practicing catching yourself in the act of checking the nutrition label and correcting it. And over time, as you practice it, it gets easier and easier as you remind yourself that there is nothing in the nutrition label, with some exceptions like allergies, that you need to see. And so this is really a first step that you can take. The second step really involves mindfulness. This is easier said than done, but what I mean by that is so much of what happens when we practice something over and over again is that our brain creates something called a neuro pathway, which is just really a shortcut, a fancy word for a shortcut. And so we don't have to necessarily consciously think about something for it to be happening so fast. So part of the way that we block that neuro pathway from happening so quickly, that neuro pathway in this case, just a pathway, being the one that see a food and then think of calories immediately. The way that we interrupt that, block that, and change that over time is by noticing it's happening, naming it, and replacing it with someone else. So that might sound like, or look like, when you notice you're having a thought about a calorie amount or count, say to yourself, I'm noticing I'm having a thought about calories, and then correct it with a statement like, I'm no longer counting calories anymore. Or, counting calories is not supportive for me in cultivating a different and more peaceful relationship with food. You pick the statement, but you catch it first and then you replace it. And this is something that we practice over and over again until that neuro pathway that's often subconscious, right? So what we're doing is we're bringing it into the conscious, we're naming what it is, and then we're replacing it. This whole process needs to happen many times so that it doesn't turn into or stay what it has been for a long time, which is just calorie counting as kind of this hum in the background, because your brain has created so many shortcuts in order to make it easier for you to see a food and then count the calories. Lastly, the third way that you can stop counting calories and practice stopping counting calories as a way to change your relationship with food and increase the connection that you have to your body and become more of an intuitive eater is to really challenge the notion of calories altogether. You have most likely been told throughout your life by all kinds of people and medical practitioners that there's a specific amount of calories that you need each day. And the reality is that the amount of energy, which is just calories, that we need from food varies each day depending on our activity levels, depending on any injury, depending on how much we've had throughout the day or within the last 24 hours. And that's constantly shifting, not to mention there's so much that your body needs in terms of energy to function even when it's laying down. And so by focusing on the exact amount of calories that other people have told you that you need, often only further disconnects you from your relationship to your body and makes food really, really confusing. And so I want to encourage you to challenge the notion that there is an exact calorie amount, a range, a minimum and a maximum that's going to be perfect for you each day, and really toss that idea. It's often rooted in diet culture and diets, and so we want to be moving away from thinking about food as being prescriptive and really flipping the script and thinking about food as something that nourishes you, something that you need. It's something that provides energy, and that calories are not bad. It's simply the energy from food that you need to eat to support your body in all of its functions. And then we need to add even more energy into our body in the form of food when we're wanting to do more, like activity and think and write and all the other things that we do as humans. So I really want you to challenge the belief that there's an exact amount of calories that you need each day. Stopping counting calories is really hard. So if this is new to you, please be gentle with yourself. And if this is something that you've been practicing for a long time and feel like it hasn't changed, know that this takes time. Think about the amount of time that you've been practicing counting calories to the point that you don't even need to think about it anymore. This is something that we keep coming back to, that we keep unlearning so that we can relearn a different kind of way to approach food, to eat food, to be in relationship with our body. And if some of the things that I've said feel off-putting or make you feel some feelings, that's totally okay. If something like covering the nutrition label and not looking at it, or not subscribing to the idea that there's a specific amount of calories that you need each day, or challenging yourself when you have calorie amounts pop up as a way to shift that mindset, if they all feel hard for you, that's okay. Just allow that to be. Sit with that. You exist in a culture that has essentially told you for most of your life the opposite of everything that I'm recommending and saying. So just be compassionate with yourself as you practice this. Keep practicing, and I promise it gets better over time. I'd love to hear what you thought of this video. Please like, share, and comment below, and subscribe to my channel so that you can get the newest videos delivered right to you.